Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.
Hello, it's episode 238, and we are just about to meet the Archangel Michael. The werewolf's not happy about it, Eleanor's a bit overawed, and Monty's for him it's just another Tuesday morning. Let's see what the Professor does. Let's see if he works out what the Angel Michael wants to get rid of Satan for, or maybe he doesn't. Go down to the description, follow us. There's books, there's Facebooks, places, there's Instagrams, there's X, there's you name it, you can find us all over. If you love us, you could buy us a coffee. If you don't love us, then, do you know what? We still love you.
Eleanor, I don't think anything in the world can prepare you for the moment an archangel arrives. I don't think anything should be able to prepare you for the moment an archangel arrives. It's pretty unpreparable for, in my humble opinion. You can study the text, listen to the professor's lectures, read the footnotes, memorize the footnotes of the footnotes. But nothing helps when the air suddenly tilts around you as though some cosmic giant has leaned down to peer through the windows of your reality. I felt it in my chest at first, a sort of tug, like the universe had reached in and plucked a thread inside of me just to see if it vibrated. Spoiler, it did. His feather, was burnt. But it wasn't really burnt, it shone there, but it wasn't there. Fire is warm, fire flickers, fire behaves. This was immaculate. A perfect white feather flame still existed there, clear as ice and as sharp as remorse. It had swallowed the feather with smoke, with ash, without mercy. And I dropped to my knees, not intentionally, not dramatically. My legs just folded under me like they had heard a very old command and obeyed, but without asking my permission. The room grew cold, then hot, then cold again. The candles guttered sideways as if fleeing. The hair on my arms rose, my heart forgot how to beat properly, and then light. Impossible light. Light that felt aware of me. Light that seemed to be scrutinizing my soul before deciding whether to keep it or file a celestial complaint form. It wasn't shining from something, it was shining into being. Shapes moved within it, shapes that might have been wings or might have been physics giving up. And there was a figure, a man if you squinted, an answer if you don't. Perfect, too perfect, a symmetry so exact my eyes warred. A stillness no human could achieve without the help of death or taxidermy. He looked at me. His eyes, if that's what they were twin burning certainties. Not fire, not stars, something purer, something older, something that had never ever needed to doubt itself. My breath caught. Actually caught. I genuinely forgot how breathing worked. Oxygen went on strike. My whole body shook. I'd read about monsters. I'd actually met some. I'd sat in a room with Lucifer, for heaven's sake. I thought I knew how fear felt. No, this wasn't fear. This was awe. Sharpened into a blade and pressed gently against the throat of my soul. And then he spoke.
Be not afraid.
Which immediately made me extremely afraid. The words weren't sound, not really. They were meaning poured into me like molten gold. My ears rang from inside my skull. Tears spilt down my face. I don't think I chose to cry. It was like my body was simply acknowledging he was too much. His presence pressed against me like gravity with an agenda. I felt horribly small, terribly mortal, exposed in every way a person can be exposed. He stepped closer, and Floorbird shuddered.
You who call me, why do you tremble?
Why? Because he was real. Because nothing in my life, not even the supernatural parts, had prepared me for the sheer rightness of him. Because some part of me, the deepest, oldest part, recognized him. And I wasn't ready to be seen like that.
Well, I knew the moment he arrived. I managed to get up off the floor on the second attempt with the aid of Monty, who offered me a hand. Not in the way I'd just offered my hand a moment ago, obviously. I had to present him my left hand for Monty to pull him up with his firm Englishman's grasp, because my right hand was staring at me from its puddle. A puddle of blood 2 yards away. That must sting, said my wolf soul. A little, I laughed as a sort of reply. As I stood, I'd already tourniqueted the stump, and was happy to see that by my miraculous healing powers it was slowly growing back. A little slow still, yeah, but the blood flow had stopped and I could see the stump bubble and reform what had been there before. It would require my tattoos having a bit of a, touch-up once healed, because they never reappeared properly, which was annoying, but I really shouldn't complain if my hand grows back, I suppose. As I say, I knew he'd arrived, him, the Michael Angel thingy, not because of the light or the heat or the ridiculous celestial theatrics, but because my wolf soul was snarling inside me. He really did not like this celestial thing. He snarled, not in fear. No, Fenrir doesn't fear anything. He recognised his threats like old acquaintances, and Michael, he's the oldest acquaintance of them all. Or is it an enemy? Can an angel be an enemy? The air pressure shifted like a storm rolling in, but trying very hard to pretend it wasn't. Eleanor, well, she just dropped to her knees. Of course she did. Humans are pathetic in front of things like this, and even Monty looked like he'd swallowed a theological lemon. Although he does look like he swallowed a lemon of some sort, all the time, to be honest. The Professor, well, I'll never understand how he manages to look both guilty and determined at the same time. The levels of light had dropped and his archangeliness, is that a word? Michael stepped out of the light. I recognised the bastard. We'd met a few times before. For he is the protector of God's mortals and shit. Book of Will, verse... who gives a fuck? He was a smug-looking bastard as ever. He was disguised as a man, if you can call that perfect symmetry of disguise. He radiated just superiority, the kind of superiority only an immortal who's never once questioned his own judgment can manage. He didn't look at me at first, not properly, just a glance, a flick of those burning, sanctimonious eyes, like I was something he'd scraped off his sandal during a pilgrimage through the mortal plane. And that made my hackles rise more. Oh, how I hated this divine perfection thing before me. I could feel Fenrir pushing at the inside of my ribs, a low growl vibrating through my bones. As I said, Fenrir doesn't feel fear. He has recognition, and because of the recognition, anger, the kind of anger that echoes across centuries. Michael had escorted me out of heaven once, escorted, his word, patronising git. Told me my beastly half was lucky to still exist. Told me I, and this is the quote, should be grateful the Almighty shows mercy to creatures like you. To creatures like me? Oh, how that made me want to hurt him even more. And my reaction to all this, when I got Earthside? Petty, of course. I killed many of God's children for those words once I got down there. I kept my face still as he looked at me, because this wasn't the moment to do something horrific to it, although the desire to do so was beyond all of everything. Not yet, I said, not yet. In my mind, I reassured Fen that we would, I'll say it here, even if only to myself and my soul, we would one day. I don't know how one kills an angel, but I'm going to kill him.
We're gonna kill him.
Came into my skull from my irritated Fen. We were just going to do it. We were, mainly for no reason that can be justified. I was, as I've said, petty, and I just want to prove that it could be done. And when I do, I swear, the last thing you'll see is my big, warm, werewolfy, and extremely toothy grin. The day is coming, Michael. I bide my time, but the day is coming. Ha! Monty. Well, this is all rather inconvenient when one needs the loo. Light everywhere, can't see, noise that isn't noise, principally just, well, another day at the office, I suppose, what? Eleanor, Ben and Sula, well, collapsed dramatically and on knees and sort of prayed. Understandable. To them, this is something incredible and life-changing. To someone like me, it's just, well, another wet Tuesday morning in my overcomplicated life. Have to say, I'm never bored. Never bloody get a chance to be. Although I would like to give the boredom thing a try at some point. It would be nice not to live in much so interesting times. Marjorie and the Spaniels are all the chap needs, I reckon. Really? No, I don't know. I look at Will as he looks at the angel. I feel a wave of damned repugnance flow down my spine. Gosh, that Will chap can really exude hate into the world. It is times like these that he shows he is more than a man. His teeth chatter together that way, when a dog bears him, waiting in excitement for a treat. The angel is in for some bloody trouble from that one in the future. The professor is calm and hides the fact that he is a man who knows precisely how bad an idea that it was that he'd done this, in fact. I wonder what it feels like to be him in these moments. Mostly, I just follow orders. I find thinking for oneself to be ponderous and a little undignified once you wear the uniform of the great British RAF. And of course, this fellow had arrived. Him. What's his face? Michael. Archangel. Commander thingy of the heavenly host, apparently. And absolutely the sort of thing that would give themselves that sort of title without irony or doubt. Even an Englishman wouldn't do that. Honestly, the moment he stepped through the blinding light as though he was emerging from his own theatrical fog machine, I thought, oh, good Lord, he's even taller in bloody person, and that is utterly unnecessary. The symmetry? The symmetry is unsettling. No one should be that symmetrical unless they are what's that called? Computer-generated or an Olsen twin, yes. Yes. What? You see, I can reference modernity when required, even if that modernity is some 20 years ago. It'll bloody do. Michael's entire presence feels like it was designed by a committee that had never met a human but insisted they could capture the essence of one. I thought he would have met plenty of humans in his time to base his ideas on. Although he is so self-assured and haughty that he probably thinks he can do human better than any human can do human. He has arrived at the kind of man who walks into a room and immediately makes you want to straighten your tie, even if you're not wearing one. He radiates judgment, not even directed judgment, just ambient judgment, like standing next to a cathedral that disapproves of your shoes. I've actually done that. And that voice.
Be not afraid.
Oh, marvellous, yes, very reassuring. When delivered in a tone that rattles the window panes and likely sterilises the first 3 layers of my skin. What I want to say is, would you mind terribly not shouting? This is a university, old chap, not the day of reckoning. But one must be diplomatic with celestial beings, and also, if I'm being brutally honest, very careful. I know luck protects me, but I suspect she might draw the line at instigating fisticuffs with the Archangel Michael. Will's glaring at the angel like he wants to, take a bite. Eleanor's trembling like someone who's met off for the first time and, like me, really needs a toilet. The professor looks like he's already regretting everything he's, ever done. And me, I'm simply thinking, I hope to God he wiped his shoes before stepping on that rug. It's antique Persian, don't you know, and bloody expensive.
The Professor. There are moments in a scholar's life, rare, unwelcome, but necessary, when theory becomes practice. When the ink of ancient manuscripts no longer suffices, and one must test the hypothesis with one's own blood, breath, and stubborn conviction. Well, in this case, not one's own blood. I mean, I could have used my own blood, but please don't make that apparent to the werewolf. That would be another bad thing happening on a bad day, filled already to the brim with bad things. Another bad thing I really could do without. I mean, his hand would grow back, wouldn't it? He couldn't exactly hold that against me. See what I did there? A little jokey. Hold his hand against me. Sorry. Tonight, I crossed a line. I mean, I like crossing lines. Sort of my job, to be honest. But this was not a line. This was a line. It's going to bring interesting results. You see, I didn't pray for Michael to come. I did not petition him. I made him come. Yes. I demanded his presence. I summoned him. A little thrilling to be able to summon such as he. But it brings around a lot of new possibilities. Most of those possibilities are not great for my immortal soul, to be honest. But that soul is already sort of fucked at the moment anyways. And in that decision, to summon an angel, I joined a very short list of humans, nearly all of whom ended very badly, actually. Humans who dared to compel an archangel to appear in a locked office in the Midlands on a Tuesday morning. My hands were steady. They were always steady. Years of practice at looking and sounding like I knew what I was doing had beaten my hind animal brain into mental subjugation. Not the 3 F's of fight, flight, or freeze for me. My 3 F's were 1. Feign the fact that I was not frightened. 2. Fake, looking like I knew what I was doing. And 3, and most importantly, front it out, whatever happens. The feather still tried to flame. It was gone, but its soul resided on this plane, and it still glowed. And he maketh his angel spirits, his ministers, a flame of fire. Psalm 104, verse 4. Yes, quite. The feather soul, Michael's feather soul, lay on the brass plate before me. The actual feathers remains burnt and stinking, the way only burnt feathers can stink. The feather had been stolen, illicit, and still faintly hummed with the residue of heaven's bureaucracy. It had no right to be in my possession, but right has never bothered me in any of its countless variety of meanings. The feather had burned whilst accompanied by words read from the Maleficorum and, of course, Will's blood. My throat was sore from that reading. It felt like the results of shouting and screaming for one side at a varsity match of rugger. To describe the summoning, it was like, it was, there is no metaphor I can offer to make you understand that moment. The flame did not consume. It adjudicated. It judged. The feather burned the way truth burns when held too close to the human mind, clinically, cleanly, and without apology. Everything went silent. Not quiet, you understand. Utterly silent. The kind of silence described in 1 Kings, chapter 19, verse 12, that still small voice, except devoid of gentleness. The silence before a verdict. I should note academically that summoning an angel requires understanding contradictions. In Sefer HaRazim, angels do not come without divine sanction. In the book of Tobit. Raphael comes simply because he was sent. In the Testament of Solomon, Solomon subdues angels by commanding names and seals older than Eden. In the Zohar, angels ascend and descend constantly, almost bureaucratically. In the 3 Enoch, humans may see angels only if transformed. And yet, here I was, attempting a synthesis of all 4 traditions, a patchwork of incompatible theologies stitched together by a genius or a madman. I have in my considerable time been personally accused of both of those traits, and I'm willing to accept that I have both in spades. History has predominantly shown that genius and madness are often both required to change the world, or in this case, change the worlds. I accept mad. I try to accept genius, although I would never insinuate that myself. I am English after all, and we would never toot our own trumpets in such a manner. Also, the other thing that you have to add to those 2 traits is being brave enough to apply the ideas that are born of genius and of madness. Although some would argue that stupidity would come before such a thing as bravery, and in this occasion it would be a pretty strong argument. The room bowed inwards. The walls of reality had flexed around us. The arrival of a being such as this was a lot for reality to accept. They hadn't flexed physically, they'd flexed ontologically. The walls didn't want to break, they just seemed unsure whether they were still meant to exist or not. The floor shuddered beneath us, not from movement, but from the same uncertainty. And then Michael noticed me. I felt it like a nail being driven into my cerebellum, a sharp pressure in my head, and a reality so sharp and bright it momentarily blinded me, as though a celestial accountant had just located my name in a ledger and circled it with utter distaste. The light on his arrival had not just been light. It was a brightness that made Matthew, verse 28, chapter 3, his countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. Seemed like the third understatement of a traumatized witness who lacked appropriate adjectives. The light did not illuminate the room. It rewrote its reality with this being now in it. The air vibrated its displeasure as it made space and dealt with the pressure changes of this unwanted arrival. The page edges of the Liber Maleficorum were singed slightly and curled as if trying to flee. I reached for the half-filled teapot to change its purpose from bringer of oral refreshment to that of an inadequate fire extinguisher if the book burned. Even the chalk lines of the summoning circle, designed with the precision of Solomonic diagrams and Enochian geometry, were crawling and showing discomfort at this being's arrival. And then he came through. Michael did not simply enter the room. He did not descend. He declared himself, breaking through the boundary between celestial and terrestrial as though it were wet paper. His true form. There are no words for it in English. Barely any in Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic, if I'm honest. I rely here on Ezekiel, on Daniel, on Jubilees, on the songs of the Sabbath sacrifice, and on fragments from the apocalypse of Abraham that academics pretend not to have seen. He was lightning having an opinion, a storm given intent, a weapon shaped like obedience, a being made of injunctions, not anatomy, wings, plural in meaning, not number, spanned dimensions human grammar has not bothered naming. His halo flickered in frequencies that made the metal on my desk buckle into gentle, fearful shapes. Space itself shifted aside with the polite desperation of a subject making room for a king. His voice ruptured the air.
Simon de Montfort.
If I were to write what he spoke, it would all be in capitals. And in reality, that fickle thing, it wasn't spoken, it was pronounced, declared, like a line in a cosmic decree.
You burn my feather.
The others behind me stiffened. They heard a voice like rolling thunder. I heard the deeper register beneath it, the real voice, the one described in the Odes of Solomon. His voice shook the foundations. The depths answered him. It took effort to smile and not smirk. Yes, I said, adjusting my spectacles. Oh, and it felt like it was only me. I think I rather did. Michael's form intensified. Angels cannot scowl, I think, but if they could, they would do it exactly as he did just then.
You summon me against my will.
Of course I did, I replied, trying to use a tone that pertained to bravery rather than a tone showing the reality of the fact. That fact being that I was on the verge of soiling my breeches. If you'd come willingly, I'd call that rather a social visit. This is not a social visit. This is it's a demand for your time. His wings flexed. Several of the laws of physics resigned in protest. You're on my plane of existence, so no more of that, if you please. I continued. You are somehow bound to this circle. You may pretend it doesn't restrain you, but I believe it does. I designed it after the seventh sphere diagrams in Raziel. Your signature is already etched. Oh, don't worry. I don't really understand how it works either. I smiled a faintly reassuring smile. It seems to be binding you for now, but don't fight it, because I have no idea if it can cope with that. And to be honest, I'm not sure I can either. Michael flickered, lighting in the shape of disbelief.
You presume too much, mortal.
No, I don't. And I say that with great respect, I add. I said, I presume just enough, and I add the caveat, respect, because that is how it is offered. His presence pushed against me, heat and pressure building in waves, the kind that in old texts make prophets faint. The heat was that which in Daniel 10 causes Daniel to collapse when faced with an angel, whose face was like lightning. I remained standing. Unlike Daniel, I was prepared, not overawed. I was merely awed. He glared, if a storm can glare. You show me your true form, I said, quietly, because you know I can withstand it. because you know I will not be cowed, because you know. I stepped forward, the chalk glowing beneath my feet. That I summoned you. And you bloody well had to come, didn't you? Michael's wings crackled, ripping tiny seams in reality that sealed themselves immediately. I felt his irritation, and something more. Was it affection? I felt his frustration at the limits placed upon him by my names, seals, and feathers, and a law older than even he. You will answer my questions, I said, tone precise. And you will not attempt any, angelic monkey business. You know better than that. In my mind, I added, I bloody well hope. He leaned in. Light, heat, power. A force that had once escorted Will out of heaven by the scruff of his soul.
You caught danger.
And you caught insolence, I replied. I was really pushing it here, if I'm honest. I was going to regret this in the future. But that was for the future. So something for future Simon to worry about, Not me. Not this time, Simon. Yet here we are, I told him. I wasn't so much talking to Michael as I was telling him. Oh, the power. Oh, I was so going to pay for this. Again, something for future Simon to worry about, not for me. A long electric silence from the angel followed. An angel showing resignation. How thrilling for me. Then, very quietly, in a voice that sounded like an avalanche having second thoughts.
Why have you called me Simon?
Here, finally, was the moment. All the worlds of all the scriptures held their breath. The watchers of Enoch, the princes of Daniel, the angels that stand by the throne in Revelation, the 10 classes of angels in Maimonides, even the rebellious hosts that the Book of the Secrets of Enoch implies, still whisper across the void. I exhaled. Because, I said, I want... No, it's more than that. I demand from you. The power was going to my head, if I'm honest. I demand that you tell me.
Yes,
said Michael. I demand all. I held a dramatic pose, and I paused. All 5 numbers and the lucky stars for this Friday's Euro Millions. It's 102 million, I told him. His face set into disbelief. I could see the anger building inside him. He was just about to give me an angelic tsunamic tirade when, I'm fucking with you, Michael. The angel gave an expression of complete confusion mixed with compounded incredulity. You're not the only one moving pieces on the board, but I need to know why you're trying to erase Lucifer, The thunder in his form stilled. For the first time, perhaps in millennia, Michael hesitated. And that was worth all the danger, in all the time, in all the world. I could see him thinking, that perfect brow knotted.
but I have not.
He said,
Why would I want to remove one so valuable and one whom I love so much as my Lucifer.
It was the first time he'd acknowledged her presence by regarding her with, well, it looked like a loving glance. She gave him a nod. I looked at her, then him. Shit. He can't lie. Shit. He cannot lie. The thought slid into my mind with the precision of a scalpel, clean and cold, even with Michael's radiance roaring through the room, light behaving like a living thing, the walls bowing inwards as though trying to kneel. My mind kept working, kept whirring. Thank God for academic instinct. It was the only shield I had. But angels cannot lie. Not won't, you understand. They simply can't. The way fire can't freeze and stone can't float. Okay, most stone before you get pedantic about pumice and such. Angels? Well, okay, apart from fallen angels. Angels cannot lie. Aquinas said as much, didn't he? Summa Theologiae 158.5. The will of the blessed angels is incapable of swerving from the divine good, and lying, true lying, requires a perversion of will, a deliberate turning from what is. An angel cannot do that without ceasing to be an angel. The Midrash goes further. An angel has but one mission, and he cannot deviate from it. A being whose every breath, every flicker of existence is aligned to the truth, cannot twist that into falsehood. The Quran says the same. They do not disobey Allah in what He commands them, but do what they are commanded. No rebellion, no deviation. And the Apocrypha, the Apocrypha has always whispered it more brutally than the canon. The Liber Maleficarum, trembling on my desk like a guilty animal, phrases it perfectly. The upper choir may speak in shadow or in unbearable clarity, but not in falsehood, for untruth would unmake them. There it is. The entire theological consensus, from polished church fathers to half-mad desert mystics, to the book currently humming like a wasp's nest on my desk. Michael cannot lie. Michael cannot deceive. But he can withhold. He can omit. He can answer so literally that the truth becomes a trap. He can remain silent where a human might beg to speak. If he pauses, if he looks away, if he chooses one phrasing over another, then the truth behind it must be worse than the silence. God help me. That means every gap in his speech is a cliff's edge I've been walking beside without noticing. A strange confidence settled in my chest. Scholar's arrogance, perhaps. But also a revelation. He cannot lie to me, but he may permit me to destroy myself if I ask the wrong question. That's the game, then. Not truth against falsehood. Truth against omission. Precision against cosmic restraint. And I suspect, no, I know, that this is the only advantage I'll have in the minutes ahead. Because if Michael is here unwillingly, then the truth he has withheld must be apocalyptic. Right. The question he has to answer. How do I phrase this? The question must close all avenues of omission. It must require a simple binary truth. It must include the intentions of everyone Michael could be working with. It must reference intent, action, and consequence. Be structured so silence equals confession. It must bind him through heavenly mandate. All right. Here goes. Do you, or any being with whom you knowingly share alignment, counsel, mandate, intention, or desired outcome, seek now, or in any unfolding future, to dethrone Lucifer Morningstar, assuming dominion over hell, or alter its rightful rulership by action, abstention, by influence, or by design?
No.
Instantly returned. What? What do you mean, no?
No.
I again took my hand to my bristly chin for a rasping stroke as I thought. Well, that means that, yes, well, you see, that means that, oh, shit. It means... I haven't got a bloody clue what the fuck that means. Oh, bollocks.
Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.